Hey guys, Pat Divilly here with the final week of our exam elevation program with the LEVATE Foundation in County Clare. As we head into exam week, I want to share a couple of final thoughts that I hope can support you as you go into your exams in getting the best results and in being happy with what you get out of the exams. So the first thing I want you to think about is managing your self-talk. Last week I talked a little bit about athletes and how athletes are in this position where they've got a high stress environment and they've got a certain period of time where they've got to perform at their best. They can't pick and choose when they perform. They do all their training and then it comes to the game and that's where they get to show what their training was worth. Now, one of the things they do really well is they manage their self-talk. So we've all got an inner dialogue. We've got an inner voice, and the voice can either be a supportive voice or it can be a voice that holds us back. I call this the inner critic. It's the voice that tells you you're not good enough. It's the voice that tells you that you're not doing well, that things are not going to go well for you. And sometimes I'll kind of say to people that if you can imagine that voice speaking to your best friend probably wouldn't hang out too long. So we need to be conscious of how we're talking to ourselves. We talk to ourselves more than anyone else in the world. So how we talk to ourselves matters. I went to a sports psychologist a couple of years ago and they gave me this prompt which made a lot of sense to me. And they said, rather than listening to yourself, learn to talk to yourself. And what they meant by that was that when we listen to ourselves, oftentimes it's a negative voice. We talked about that. There's a negative voice that's there that's telling us we're not good enough. And the way to get rid of that voice is to replace it with something positive. And we replace it by talking to ourselves, by talking about what we're trying to achieve, about what we've done well, about where we're going, about what our mini goals are, and coming back to some of the things we've talked about in recent weeks. So again, the athlete that makes a little mistake in a game has two options. They can either obsess by the little mistake that they've made and let it become a downward spiral. So you might see a tennis player that hits the net and all they can think about is the net, the mistake. And so the game gets worse and worse and they make more and more mistakes. Now the elite level tennis player, the tennis player who's going to perform at the highest level, hits the net as well. They make the same mistakes that everyone else makes, but rather than focus on the mistake they made, they come back to what they're trying to achieve. So in my experience, when I've done exams and an exam hasn't gone to plan, and I know I've got an exam the next day, I don't obsess over the fact that the exam didn't go perfectly. I leave it behind me and I think about what I'm trying to achieve. So where am I trying to go? What's the purpose of these exams? So learn to talk to yourself rather than listen to yourself, and also become conscious of where am I trying to go? Don't let any little mistake that you have in a paper or an exam pull you off course. Always keep the focus forward on what you're trying to achieve. The second thing to think about is killing the ants. This kind of ties in. And when I talk about ants, ants stands for automatic negative thoughts. Okay, so again, we talked about this in recent weeks where we've got a negativity bias. We tend to focus on what we're not doing well rather than focus on what we are doing well. So again, this is going to be a case of catching yourself anytime you find yourself talking negatively or focusing on things that you're not doing well and trying to put something positive in its place. So a couple of ways you can do that. One of the ways you can do it is to focus on, again, mini wins, something we've talked about throughout the course. Focus on the preparation that you've put in. That's where your confidence should come from. Your study that you've done over the weeks should give you confidence. You've done a lot over the last couple of weeks, last couple of months. And at this point, you shouldn't be beating yourself up about what's not been done. You should be building confidence and taking confidence from everything you have put into this over the last couple of months. So kill the ants, kill the automatic negative thoughts by putting in positives, focusing on your mini wins, focusing on what you're trying to achieve, and again, talking to yourself rather than listening to yourself. The last thing to think about, and you may have heard this before, but I can't stress it enough, is there's always a way. And what I mean by this is there's always a way to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. And it's not always a straight line. I met a taxi driver a couple of years ago and he said to me, he meets people from all different backgrounds. And he said the biggest thing that he sees with people is they think success is A to B in a straight line. He said whether it's a relationship, whether it's health, whether it's a career, whether it's exams, he thinks people always associate success with A to B straight line, no ups and downs. And he said if you think about a heart rate monitor, life is represented by ups and downs. There's always ups and downs in life, so things don't always go to plan. But he said as soon as the heart rate monitor goes flatline, it means life is over. And so throughout our life, we're going to have things that don't go to plan. We're going to have ups and downs, but there's always a way to achieve what you want to achieve. I spoke to a friend recently who went and did a nursing degree, and it took her a few years to get there because she didn't get the points straight off the bat. She went back, but it was her passion. It was something she had always wanted to do, and so she found a way. My own experience when I was finishing school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I studied geography and economics, which was something I wasn't really interested in, but my thinking was it was just a 3-year course and I could get out of college really quick. Because looking forward, 3 years seems like a long period of time, but 3 years goes by in the blink of an eye. Now that primary degree allowed me eventually to switch into nutrition, which was what I really wanted to do. I wouldn't have got the points to do nutrition straight off the bat, but again, there's always a way. So even if the exams don't go exactly as you'd like them to, even if at this point you're feeling like you're not going to get the points, have faith that if you put everything into these exams, you've not got long left now, give it everything you've got, there will be a way to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. So I wish you the very best with the exams. I hope some of the strategies we've shared in the last couple of weeks can help you. Again, think about getting lots of sleep the next couple of weeks. Think about your breathing techniques if you're ever feeling anxious. Think about focusing on building your confidence by focusing on those mini wins, focusing on the work that you've put in. And keep in mind that there's always going to be a way to go and do whatever it is that you want to do. Best of luck with the exams, and I'll speak to you soon.